Welcome to the Histories of Northamptonshire podcast series, and this episode number 96. Recorded on location, each episode tells the story of one of the many and varied objects which are the focus of the exhibition A History of Northamptonshire in 100 Objects. The exhibition runs at the Northampton Museum and Art Gallery between the 20th of September 2025 and February 2026. Selected by local individuals, heritage groups and the museum's own curators, each object tells a different story from the county's past. And so, to our guest for this episode. Tell me who you are.
I'm Richard Humphreys. I'm a barrister, King's Counsel, and I've lived in Northamptonshire for some 29 years now, 11 years in Great Doddington, and now, for the last 18 years, in West Haddon.
This may well lead us onto the object itself, but you're not representing an organisation in this particular exhibition. You are providing an item yourself. Why is that, and what is the item that you've brought into the exhibition?
Well, it's a block of dressed ironstone / sandstone, dressed meaning that it's worked, especially worked by a stonemason. It was going to be used as part of the restoration of the house I lived in Great Doddington all those years ago. And it's the most beautiful piece of sandstone. I've always adored stone, and I thought that since this piece of stone is roughly 160 million years old, it's played a fantastic part in the county's history, its built environment, quite apart from its geological interests. I really wanted to promote it and let it be seen and known.
Now, this particular item, you'd better describe it for us, because you've mentioned dressed stone, and it would have been a piece that went into your house. Clearly it didn't, because it's in front of us right now. So, what is the item, and describe it for us if you could.
It's a lump or a block of stone. It's about 23 centimetres by 10 by 13. It weighs about, just under 5 kilos, so it's a substantial piece. It was going to be used as part of a window surround in one of the many windows at the old manor house at Great Doddington, but it was surplus. When we came to restore the house in 1999, I think we needed some 30 tonnes of sandstone to create the 8 that we needed. So it was an immense project. It took well over 6 months, 5 tiers of scaffolding up around the house having been built in 1509/10, which is when Henry VIII came to the throne.
Have you always had an appreciation for stone? You mentioned its age. Have you had that sort of aesthetic feel for stone all your life, or is it something that occurred to you whilst the house was being renovated and you were having to secure supplies?
Well, no, I think my love of stone really dates from a wonderful education I had at Stowe School in Buckinghamshire, which has the most beautiful buildings and grounds. And the love of stone, I think, really emanates from that period. But the first headmaster of Stowe said that every boy who went out from Stowe would know beauty when he saw it for the rest of his life. And he was absolutely spot on. When this block of stone, I think, is absolutely beautiful. I don't think there's any more beautiful stone in the entire country.
Now, there are commercial stonemasons in Northamptonshire. They're very well-known corporate organisations. This is a partly worked piece of stone. It's got curves, it's got flat faces, it's got notches. How much of this, Richard, is actually about the work of the craftsman, and how much is it of the stone that has been dug out of the ground?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned this, because the stonemason back in 1999, this was quarried from Hull stone, north of Northampton. Then it was worked by Mike Hillis, who's still a stonemason today. And of course, without the skills, the wonderful skills of a good stonemason, stone is nothing. This required great skill to work it into this beautiful shape and a usable shape. But no, without the stonemason, it wouldn't be anything. But when I was looking for the stone, because we wanted something which was petrographically, under the microscope, the identical stone to the original house, it took a long time. I had very well known surveyor architect John Barker of Gotch Pearson, of Gotch, of course, the great Northamptonshire architect. He was based in Kettering, but the office was based in Wellingborough. And John Barker spent a long time looking for this stone and found it just being dug up to make some walls. And so petrographically, I like to think it might have been where the original stone came from in 1510, because the family which built the manor house in 1510, they came, or the John Barnard, there were three in succession, he came from Abington Hall, the famous museum as it now is, but in those days Abington Hall, Abington Park was owned by the Barnards. And I like to think that this was much closer to Harlestone, and the connection probably didn't brought the stone, probably not by the river, not along the Nen, but along what we now call the A4500. So I like to think that his appreciation of the stone came from Harlestone, or that area, and then he took the stone over to Great Doddington, because Doddington is more about the limestone ridge which runs and ends in Great Doddington. But it was this. So the house there was a combination of the limestone with then this beautiful sandstone.
Elsewhere within this podcast series and elsewhere within the exhibition, we're talking about Collie Weston slate, and that too is dug out of the ground. To that particular individual telling his story, and to you telling this story, authenticity matters.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. What I would dearly love is for us to be using this stone in buildings of today and the future. I'm not saying pastiche, we couldn't possibly. It would be far too expensive. But there are ways of, if we want to accept more development, which we need, the way to integrate, make development more acceptable is if we can have a nod to this and use part of this stone in our buildings. It doesn't have to be the whole house. It can be above a window, a lintel here, so that one knows this is Northamptonshire. It's not anywhere. The quality of build, I'm afraid to say, in Northamptonshire, in my view, is really poor. It has been poor for decades. I mean, many, many decades. And now we see a little bit of stone being used, but it's reconstituted stone, just a very thin veneer, and it's not authentic. So indeed, when we were trying to find this stone in 1999, at one point it was suggested that we might have to use geiting, which is a sort of dark colour, and then lasts for 1,000 years, and then spray it. And I said, no, we must carry on, because it's just not authentic, wouldn't have looked right.
Elsewhere in other episodes, I'm talking to people and asking them for their emotional response, how they feel about the object which has been accepted with others into the exhibition. Clearly, you are an emotional person who has an emotional response to this particular object. As we say, it's part worked, it's not completely worked, it didn't make it into the renovations of your property, and yet you have that affinity with it. What do you feel this stone, worked as it is, what do you feel it says about Northamptonshire? And as a result, At the risk of asking too many questions in one, why should this item be in the exhibition telling the histories of Northamptonshire?
Well, stone, we are so blessed in Northamptonshire with our geology. It's given us this most beautiful stone, beautiful colour, great opportunity to use it. It's in some of our finest buildings. And I think so. It tells the story really of certainly the last 500 or 600 years of building. A lot of our buildings date from that, some even earlier, of course, but this use of stone. And so I think it has a current and contemporary relevance. And I think that anything which enhances the quality of our environment and makes people feel part of Northamptonshire, which is, after all, a county which is often overlooked. People drive through on the M1. We're outside of the pull of Milton Keynes, of the southeast, away from Birmingham. And Northamptonshire has this very rich heritage, but it needs to be appreciated and really, I think, talked about. So I hope that those who come to see the exhibition or read books or listen to this podcast will be enthused and thought, yes, we can do better in this county when we are building the homes of the future and the buildings of the future.
Your passion does you enormous credit. We are sitting here, the object is in front of us before it goes into the exhibition. So we are recording this conversation ahead of the exhibition. It has got a wonderful deep colour for a piece of stone. Let me ask you, with the work that has been done to the property that you now own, does that stone not glow when the sunshine hits it?
Oh, absolutely. It is. If you drive through Great Doddington, just past the shop on the right, if you're heading towards Wellingborough, on the left, set behind a wall, you'll see the old manor house. It's no longer in my ownership. I now live in West Haddon, but you'll see it. And now everybody will say, well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But I would be astonished if the vast majority of people didn't look at it and just be glad. It's so beautiful.
And Richard, one final point. You have brought an object into telling the stories of Northamptonshire. A lot of the objects that are in the exhibition are themselves pieces of manufacture. You've brought Northamptonshire into the exhibition because this particular item, worked on by somebody in the modern day, its age goes back thousands of years. You have brought Northamptonshire and a piece of Northamptonshire into the exhibition to tell its own story. Pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Histories of Northamptonshire podcast. If you would like to find out more about the objects or listen to other episodes in the series, go to www.northamptonmuseums.com. Alternatively, you can visit the Northampton Museum and Art Gallery, where you can see the A History of Northamptonshire in 100 Objects exhibition for yourself. The Histories of Northamptonshire project is funded by Arts Council England as part of the National Portfolio Programme.